that gives the government the power to decide what your children eat in the cafeteria. The First Lady says this was necessary to protect our national security.
And from military leaders who tell us that when more than 1 in 4 young people are unqualified for military service because of their weight, they tell us that childhood obesity isn't just a public health issue. They tell us that it is not just an economic threat, it is a national security threat as well.
Chris Plant is a radio talk show host and my guest now. Chris, that's I guess an extraordinary justification for this law, but does she have a point? If the kids are not fit for military service because of their weight, should something be done?
I'm not sure that our public school system is supposed to be the sort of pre-military training program that Michelle Obama thinks it is. I think releasing all of the terrorists from Guantanamo Bay is a national security threat. I've never really thought of school lunches as being a major threat to our national security before. It's at a bare minimum a stretch. Do we have a childhood obesity problem in the United States? According to some of the reports that I've seen, apparently we do. You know, I'm reminded of John Candy in the Bill Murray classic Stripes, who joined the Army because it had a great 6 to 8 week exercise program for him and it'd trim him right down. So maybe the military is just the place for our overweight kids. But $4.5 billion worth of free lunches, pretty amazing. Only in America
but these kids, it's a couple of things. The program gives the government the power to decide what kinds of foods can be sold in vending machines and in lunch lines. It could limit frequent school bake sales and fundraisers that get the kids eating poorly.
Right.
And it also helps kids who can't afford certain meals to have a meal after school before they go home. And, you know, these are poverty-stricken kids who can't afford, you know, to eat. So I think everybody's in favor of helping them. It's the regulation of what all kids are now going to be eating. And the superintendents are saying, Chris, you can put the peas and the carrots on the lunch tray. You can force us to do that, but you just can't force these kids to eat it. So he's saying it's a waste of money because this one superintendent who has spoken out, because it's going to wind up in the trash can and we can't afford it.
Well, maybe the next step will be another government program for billions of dollars that will force them to eat. You know, it's a classic case of government overreach with a conjured up explanation. It's an expansion of government power, of government spending. By the way, the President of the United States, Michelle Obama's husband, took Dmitry Medvedev out to the greasiest burger place in Washington, D.C. when he was in town, and he sneaks off to have cigarettes at every possible opportunity, notwithstanding what Robert Gibbs said the other day.
So you don't think the President is setting a good example?
Well, of course not. You know, I mean,
didn't he get skewered on the campaign trail where he wanted his, what did he want? He wanted his, like, frisee lettuce instead of I can't remember what it was, but it was something healthy, you know, and then people excoriated him for that.
Yeah, endive salads or arugula. I think it was arugula salads. You know, maybe this program should be all about, obviously everybody wants kids to eat well, but the government has been providing these lunch programs for years now. And Michelle Obama was talking about yesterday that 50% of our kids' calories coming from what we feed them at school. So obviously we're already feeding a lot of kids. This has been a government program that's been underway for a very long time. Is the government the problem or is the government solution? And is
Well, they say that the government hasn't revised sort of these guidelines or taken a hard look at what's being sold in school to the kids for food in 3 decades, since I was in elementary school, Chris. And they also say that childhood obesity rates have tripled in that time. Tripled.
Well, is that because of the poverty, or is that, you know, I mean, honestly.
That's because we supersized everything.
Well, you know, then is the problem with school lunches what the government has been doing all these years? Are they going to take responsibility for their failings before we allow them to move on and spend billions more on fresh vegetables? I mean, honestly, $4.5 billion worth of broccoli. How much does it cost to put an apple and a banana at the end of the cafeteria line? Only the government could think this is a great idea, first of all, and a national security issue. And Michelle Obama also said we can't just leave it to the parents. And that's a very revealing statement. We can't just leave it to the parents. Washington has to get involved in lunch.
Yeah, well, and now they are. Chris, thanks for your thoughts on it. We appreciate you being here.
Thanks.